The political debacle saddling Donald Trump over the course of this weekend and boiling over tonight is widely viewed on the right as his biggest problem with his base in this young presidency. A, quote, huge risk to his hold on the party, even the coming midterms. That's from his allies. Headlines screaming about a, quote, rebellion or revolt against Trump. A politician who's certainly benefited from loyalty and a type of perception of almost lockstep, unassailable MAGA loyalty is now finding it clearly in danger. The president's broken vow that he would release all this Jeffrey Epstein material and the Trump administration's quite obvious mishandling of aspects of this case, and certainly the messaging, something they're usually kind of good at, has boomeranged. The false statements, busted claims from the president on down to his attorney general. All of this has become the problem on the right. It was the controversy at a MAGA gathering just this weekend that had plenty of bold-faced MAGA names.
How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
What I'm getting at is at some point, we want answers at some point.
Yeah, answer the questions. That's it. Who went to Epstein Islands? Who specifically went on the plane? Who stayed for more than a night?
I don't think they're telling us the truth about Epstein.
I will not rest until we go full Jan 6 committee on the Jeffrey Epstein files.
I supported Donald Trump in this last election. Yes, he did just actively cover up a giant child rapist ring.
Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of Intel Services, probably not American.
Release all the Epstein files, no matter the consequences.
There is no way that we are going to act like the proven harm and abuse that Jeffrey Epstein has caused never happened.
And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working?
If you want the full release of documents, the special prosecutor gets it, and here's why. Epstein is a key that picks the lock on so many things.
It went on and on and on like that. And if you live in that universe of politics or you follow that kind of media, what you saw there is not new. That's a crescendo over the past week and the past years, because the conspiracies and the content that power so many MAGA voices for their audiences, for their online profits, and for their political heat make this particular topic an obvious public betrayal, one that they cannot abide, not in front of their audiences. People have been promised a payoff for many years on this one. So now President Trump and his top aides are engulfed by the very kind of conspiracy theory that they spent so many years promoting, apparently without a lot of forethought about how it would land if they were in charge again. And we're seeing calls for a so-called accountability for their own leaders who claimed one thing and then did the opposite. If you want to fact-check Pam Bondi's claim that she had the Epstein client list on her desk, which is one of those very literal statements, it's not like someday we'll get accountability or we'll learn more. It's, I have this well-described client list from this now deceased sex trafficker on my desk, she said. And that wasn't true. And the fact check in this case for that is in the memo her office released on behalf of the entire Justice Department. So you can see how, whether or not you see this as partly a runaway conspiracy theory or content farming debacle, it also involves whether government officials are telling the truth. And on this one, there appears to be an overlap between the test that journalists and independent accountability professionals and inspectors general tend to apply and what the MAGA faithful want. What you heard there, answer the question, are you telling the truth? And should there be accountability for that? Now, the conference you saw those clips from is from a normally pro-Trump group, Turning Points USA. And you saw the big names, Ingram, Kelly, Tucker Carlson, a lot of Fox veterans, Steve Bannon, who still has a very active relationship inside this administration, warning them that they must change course, that this cannot just be quieted down or covered up, to use the sinister version of how so much of this story on Epstein has played out over the years. Now, Trump's DOJ famously basically said, no, nothing more to see here. No more information or evidence to be given, and the questions they had very loudly pushed were now not going to be answered with the memo I mentioned. Well, I want to play another podcast that's quite popular, not just on the right, I think with young people, business people, but also in MAGA, and that's Lex Fridman. This was also height of the campaign general election, how Trump was hitting this.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, It's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be. Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Emily, just remind everyone how this works legally. Typically, in complex, large criminal investigations, while material does come to light sometimes at trial, there is not a randomized release of unverified material.
Right, because you want to usually be careful about who you're implicating in criminal activity. And also, if you're building a case against actual criminals, then you want to make sure that you're not opening it up to public scrutiny too early in a way that could, for example, pollute the jury pool. And so prosecutors normally marshal their evidence. If they're following the rules, turn it over to the defense before trial, and then it gets fully aired at the trial. So this idea that you're just going to release all of this, if it does have serious implications for other people's guilt or innocence, is pretty, let's use the word, unusual.
Yeah, and legally, do you believe the DOJ memo now? I mean, it kind of just restates what the prior findings were. It doesn't prove or show some great query. They could have done a bigger probe. What do you think of it?
I mean, it just seemed like they were not making a compelling case that they had gone through this big investigation, trying to kind of get rid of this, right? I mean, Trump seems to want to move on, and that memo seems like a classic, let's just move on from this and pretend it wasn't the big deal that we said it was earlier.
Yeah, it's really striking. I mean, there's a way without revealing secrets to show some work. If you look at the redacted sections of the Mueller report, and they talk about we did this many interviews and whatnot.
And you redact things.
Yeah, this didn't feel like that to me.